Tahmoh sandwich here.
Look at this crowd. This is huge. Like, this is way bigger than last time we were here.
It is bigger than last time.
It's like half the crowd. They're
like
even up there.
It's because I'm here. It's my first Dragon Con. I love it.
What am I missing here? Is this show suddenly growing? We haven't, like, it's been off the air for years now, and it's getting bigger? Yeah, it's obviously because you're here.
He's not.
Where the hell were you all on Friday nights at 9? That's what we want to know.
Right?
They were the ones. They were the ones that watched.
They were the ones.
They're all that were right now.
Everybody came in.
Thank you.
This is great. I love it. What a killer crowd. This is awesome.
Yeah. How many people slept last night? Oh, good for you. Like 10 people.
Not so much.
Miracle did. I was trying to sleep at like 12, and I'm getting texts and calls from her and Chris. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Did you get the photos she was sending?
The photos, the video.
I find it. I don't even know what that is.
Was anybody at the rave?
Anybody go to the rave?
Miracle was there.
I was not there.
You're not.
I wanted to be. I used to rave. I had the bracelets and everything.
Did you really?
That was pretty cute. Lots of glitter.
That really doesn't surprise me, not in the slightest, honestly.
Okay, so for the people who've not been to our panels before, we have 2 lovely people with mics, if you would like to ask our panelists some questions. I actually wanted to start while we're waiting for people to line up. So this is Miracle's first con with us. Our first Dragon Con. So thank you so much for coming. We're so excited to have you. I know that in the years that you were working on the Dollhouse, you guys all had both. Thank you. You're welcome. That you guys all had different characters to play, and both as actives and as Ballard having his change over the seasons. How did you get yourself into that, like those changes? I mean, with television being so fast and all.
Well, that was we were chatting the other day. That was one of the challenging things. Is as an actor, you want to bring your bestest A game, and if you're working on a film or when you have more time to prepare for a role, you can sort of inhabit the character or whether it's an accent or and that was a real challenge. Was that you were telling a story yesterday, Miracle, about sort of how you would prepare and that frustration.
Yeah. Because we were on set and we were doing a scene, and I think the day was almost over. There would be days where we just like hung out in that apartment, and then our off-camera time was in the hallway, which was really fun for me. But I was looking we had just gotten the script for the next episode that we were starting the next day, and I had it's when spoiler alert, 4 years later. It's when I revealed to him that I'm November, and how devastating that was. But it was like a page and a half of dialogue. It was like a big, massive monologue. And I was like kind of freaking out and looking. He's like, "What are you doing? We're almost done." And I was like, "This is for tomorrow. Leave me alone." Like, you just have to do 2 things at the same time. And I can't imagine for Eliza and Deech and Barry, having to do even a couple characters an episode, how overwhelming.
Eliza, you're going to be speaking Russian tomorrow. We need you to memorize this Russian speech with a perfect accent.
Right. I want to say Russian. Yeah, that was like that day. They sent someone in there. Joss is also famous sometimes for giving you, "Oh, we just wrote this. It's hot off the presses. Are you ready?"
I'm ready to go. Here's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Russian, monologue in Russian. Yeah. You'll be amazing.
It'll be great.
I believe in you. You're my girl. Eliza's like, "Don't worry."
I'm like, "We're in the elevator. Can I post it on the wall?"
Yeah. Pull Marlon Brando. Actually, I worked with an actor recently who told me that Harvey Keitel did that too when he worked with him. He was like his idol, and he finally did a movie with him. And he thought he was doing this deep emotional scene with Harvey, and it was just incredible. He was like, "Wow, I've made it. I'm doing this is my childhood idol. I'm doing a scene with him. Harvey's connecting, he's looking right at me. It's incredible." And he realized after the first take, after he had this brilliant scene with him, that Harvey was reading the dialogue just to the left of him. They put the lines up behind his head.
And now Tahmoh's going to get whacked by Harvey Keitel after this panel.
Probably. And I love Harvey Keitel. I hope not. Harvey, I love you.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go.
I don't think I answered that question. What was the question again? Do we have a hard time? No, not really, because I played Ballard. No, I'm joking. It was definitely challenging. You know, Paul had an interesting arc, especially at the end of the first, where I have to go to the dark side. But that was fun.
It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have cookies in the dark side. Cookies.
They have cookies and they have dolls.
Jeez.
I'm sitting right
I
here.
know. That's why I said it.
And her husband is right there.
There's a lot. Okay.
We have an understanding.
Oh, are we open?
Oh.
No, there he
Hi.
is.
Silent Bob.
Kevin Smith, holy shit!
Hey, I love your show, as we all do. Thank you very much for coming. You know, for all the mind-bending story and the superb acting, the show is also very much an action show. And I was just wondering about your experience in the action sequences, and if you had any experience with martial arts. I feel like Agent Ballard often employed the Muay Thai clinch, you know, in some of the fight scenes. So just kind of curious to speak about that.
I didn't even know what Muay Thai
Yeah,
was.
I love action. Shocker. I kind of just roll into it pretty nice and easy. And we had an amazing stunt coordinator, Mike Massa, on the show. I had worked with Massa. He used to double Angel, so I had beat his ass a number of times. And we had a nice shorthand from having worked together so much. And amazing also other doubles, and your doubles usually come in and they teach you firsthand, what
What was your
you're
girl's name
doing.
again? The main girl that they had all the time.
Bridget
Bridget.
was one of my main girls.
Very, very
She
talented
just
martial
doubled me on
artist,
the
man.
same, actually, yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. She was great.
But yeah, the action was pretty epic, and your stuff. I had heard rumors that you did your Muay Thai, and then when I saw that opening scene, I was like, Sam.
Do you guys want to know a secret? Josh, I've actually never done that in my life. It makes me
She knows him so well.
It
She
makes
gets
me
to call him
crazy when
Josh.
people do that. Exactly. That's my nickname for him. Joss showed me a still that he took on his phone of you in the mat, with your shirt off and the shorts and the lighting and everything.
Okay.
From that opening.
Get these to their own panel.
He's like, "Isn't that beautiful?" And I was like, "Yes, Joss."
Wow.
You definitely had a bromance.
And you know what's so harsh? He doesn't call, he doesn't write. I haven't had a postcard, nothing. He's cold, man. He turned into a star. He just left me in the dust. You know what?
Josh.
Yeah, right? That Josh. Eliza's obviously been doing fight scenes since you were a kid. I mean, you were doing them forever. So she's an old hand at it. Doing the epic fight scene that we had in Man on the Street was a blast. That was so much fun. It was killer. I mean, you guys saw it. Throwing pots at me and stuff. I got a frying pan and I'm dodging pots. They had
Get dirty.
really hard. They were actually quite heavy though, like rubber pots and pans. So you still had to be careful. If I took one of those to the lid, my already big nose would have been across my face. And Eliza was getting into it, man. She was hucking these things at me. It was a blast. And like she said, the doubles we had, all very, very, very talented martial artists. I'm gapping out on his name now. I know his wife, Monique and Sam. Sam is amazing. He doubles Hugh, or not Hugh, I'm gapping out here, I'm retarded. Who plays
He
Wolverine?
was the one that actually partied.
Hugh Jackman, yes, Hugh Jackman. He's been Hugh Jackman's double for all the X-Men movies. So Sam's incredible, man. He made me look badass. That one spinning roundhouse kick, if I threw that, I'd pull out my hip or something. That wasn't me. That was Sam.
While we're making blunders, can I tell my favorite Tahmoh story? It was the best. It was the first episode. It was the pilot, and Tahmoh came in, and we were shooting in this little apartment in LA, and it was the first scene where Ballard comes to Echo, and we have this little talk, and he says, "The dollhouse is real." And it was really intense, and it was your first day, I want to say. And so we had rehearsed a number of times, and we had we got all ready to shoot the scene, and on take one, sweet Tahmoh looks me dead in the eye with like 2 cameras on him, and he goes, "Echo, the Wallhouse is real." Oh shit! I said Wallhouse.
I think it took me a couple seconds to actually realize it was like a beat, and she looked at me and started
Maybe
smiling
Joss
right away.
is called
And then he was like, I heard Joss go, "Cut!" And I was like, did I say Wallhouse? And she started cracking up. Kid, I would like to add to this. So my first day doing a series with Eliza Dushku and Josh Whedon. Big deal, right? Big deal. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I'm shooting in LA finally. We're actually on location, everything. I've done so much work. I've run that effing line in my head so many times. It's like, it's just going in circles, right? As soon as I get to set, these 2 are like brother and sister. They're old friends. They're telling old stories. Remember that time with Angel and Buffy and this and that. They're talking like 10 years. And I'm just kind of like... Every once in a while, they kind of look at me, but I'm just the guy, I'm the new guy, and I'm not really part of it.
Growing out with you,
Yeah,
man. Come on.
a little bit. Anyway, I felt a little out of place, so I said Wallhouse. And Joss, I said, you got to make me a T-shirt. He still hasn't done that. He said he was gonna.
Little tidbit.
Hi. I think that we're all extremely disappointed that it got canceled. And like Tahmoh was saying, some of us just discovered it and it's already gone. And Miracle touched on this a little yesterday, but are you guys comfortable with the way it got wrapped up? And do you feel like everything was delivered even though you didn't have the time to deliver it?
Well, I mean, I think all you guys would probably agree. It could have used at least another season. I think even 3 seasons. A lot of the arcs could have been not so rushed. They could have been,
And like I said yesterday, when, because I know that Joss actually, I think Eliza knows probably what really happened, but I think he was like, okay, I've got it planned for like 4 more seasons. And then 5 seconds later, they're like, yeah, we're canceling you,
Yeah.
So he had a really hard time, I imagine, trying to wrap it up as best he could. And I think he did the best he could with what he had. And for me, my last day working on the show was the scene where I end it all for myself. And the last scene we shot in that episode was that scene in that moment with Coma, and it was a very, very emotional day for me and him, and Joss came by to say goodbye, and we were talking and just kind of taking it all in, and I said, so would you have killed me anyway? Like, was this coming? Did I do something wrong? He goes, babe, no way. He's like, you're one of my favorites. The fans love you. Absolutely not. He's like, but the minute I heard we were canceled, I thought, she's dead.
That's awesome. Classic Joss, right? She's dead, Tahmoh's dead.
Right,
Who else
we're
should I
all
kill off?
dead, yeah. So I think, like, for our relationship and our arc, I think it was kind of perfect for what had to happen.
It was
for
very
us.
bittersweet,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good. And you know what? On a positive note, oftentimes, I don't think Fox was dumb enough to do it again. But when the plug gets pulled, it gets pulled. I think we were on the
Don't
8th.
choke to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was the 8th episode or whatever when Joss came on set and gave us the announcement. He said, "Listen, guys, we're done, but they're going to let us finish."
Well, we
So
were like
happy
one
about that.
of the first shows where they had just started to track DVR numbers. I mean, technology's always changing, and so our Friday night numbers at 9 o'clock weren't that ideal, but there was a little bit of hope for a minute because a lot of people were DVRing, and we had like the highest DVR ratings of any show or something. So, I mean, yeah, it was definitely painful. It was a bummer. But as you mentioned, a lot of shows you never get to finish it off, and they literally, I had another show called True Calling that happened. But there was no ending. It was like me and Jason Priestley, and then all of a sudden it was just done. But the fact that they let us finish it off was very kind in some ways, and also we were sort of surprised and thrilled when we got the second season at all.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Definitely, it was
And
a
then,
shocker.
we had to let Joss go off and do that tiny little Avengers movie. So I think the last thing he said, to me was like when he was talking about how we were going to finish, and he was like, yeah, and I've got this beautiful idea, Tahmoh is going to be imprinted into you and he can play with your boobies. And I was like, awesome, touching.
In your head. That's funny.
That's John.
Hey, I want to ask you a question because I don't think I've ever asked this. Do you remember meeting me when you were shooting True Calling? You were with Truco, who's a dear friend of mine, but
Yeah,
at that time,
fireman.
I just met him. And Truco brought you to the fireworks party at my buddy Alex's house.
Yes.
That was the first time we met.
Yeah, I do remember that.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was like on the water,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Good time.
Good time.
The first time we met.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Hello, thanks very much for coming. This question is for Eliza. I had a great opportunity to work with Merita Halili this summer doing Albanian music. And I wanted to know, you talked about and blogged about your Albanian heritage, and I wanted to know if you've been exploring that Albanian music or singing or anything like that recently.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. Some of you may have known about or contributed to our Albanian documentary on Kickstarter. Thank you so much. We're still in the process. My brother and I shot a documentary on Albania, and really it's about the culture and other artists, and we spent 15 days going to 15 different cities around Albania. My father's parents were born there in Korça, so we make this amazing loop, and one of the sort of holdups has been we're going to air it with PBS, but we shot all the footage. You guys helped us put it together, but there was a big change. The Prime Minister just stepped down and a new regime has come in, so we're waiting on some approval from the new government, and then we're going to have that coming as soon as possible. But it's an amazing country, and I mean, growing up, I grew up in a town with a lot of Armenians, and I would have my teachers or like doctors go, I'd tell them I was from Albania, and they'd be like, oh no honey, you mean you're from Armenia? I'm like, no, Albania's a place, and it's this amazing place. And actually, De Niro has recently come out of the closet as a closet Albanian. There you go. Yes. And Ver on Dollhouse is my little Albanian cousin, his brother, so yeah, I've got mad love for my Albanian artists.
That's
And
awesome.
in the documentary, the last thing I'll say, there's a woman, you know, you get to see a lot of like Albanian pride because there's so few of us, and it can get a little strange. And like, you know, this woman in the documentary says, we're not trying to say that we're the best, we're just trying to say that we exist. And it's true, you know, I have a lot of pride for it, and I think, you know, I'm excited for you guys to learn more about this beautiful place.
Good
People.
on you. Good on you.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Golf clap, thank you.
Hi. I just want to say I was one of the people at home Friday night watching Dollhouse, and thank you for the entertainment. And my question is for Tahmoh. I read in an interview that you said the role of Ballard, it was hard for you to find the niche for it, like after coming
Hard
off,
for me to find a...
like how to act in, like how to get into that character after Battlestar. I just want to know, like, what finally clicked and how did you get into that character?
I can't speak for all actors, but I think with any series, when you're in episodic, as much as you make strong choices, you do a backstory, maybe you have the luxury of sitting down with the show's creators and the writers and really finding out who the character is, there's still going to be a journey where you truly discover them and drop in. And I think if you really observe even really good actors' performances in excellent TV shows, you watch them, the progression of it from the pilot and throughout the show. I tend to see it. It's been my own experience. Like, for instance, when I did Hilo in Battlestar Galactica, I had a really good sense of him. Thank you. I had a really good sense of him in the miniseries. But, you know, even more so once the writing started getting better in first season, they actually started writing for me. It wasn't so much a scene storyline. And then I just truly understood it, and it was kind of instinctual. Ballard, it was a little confusing at first. It was difficult because I wasn't sure the direction they were taking me in. And I think, to be honest with you, I think the writers were a little confused too at first, because as most of you know, we shot this amazing pilot, and then they cannibalized that pilot and spread it out over the first 4 episodes, which was really hard for all of us. Because originally, in the original pilot, her and I our characters meet right away. and then suddenly we're not meeting, and I'm trying to decide, have I met this person or I haven't met this person? Have I done this? What point am I at in my career? It was a little confusing trying to, keep a timetable of exactly what has happened and what's transpired. I personally found it very difficult in the first 3-4 episodes. I just didn't feel that I was clicking with it. I wasn't sure if the choices I was making were the right ones, or I was heading in the right direction. Because unfortunately, Joss and most of the producers, the writers on the show, were so stressed out about whether we were going to make it, because it wasn't looking good. When you have a pilot and then it gets cannibalized and spread out over 4 episodes, that's not a good thing. You're not starting out right. So there was definitely a stress on set, as far as I was concerned, that I felt was coming down from the top of the ladder all the way down. So there was no time.
He was like a crackhead by the end of the shoot. A sweet crackhead.
Yeah, honestly, he really did. I mean, I looked at Joss. I didn't know him really well, not like Eliza, but I could tell, he had a lot on his mind. And I think because he was like, he has this brilliant mind. He had thought out this Bible of exactly the direction the show was going to go. I'm sure the episode order, how each of the episodes was going to be done, and unfortunately, it was being taken in a different way right away. There was too many cooks in the kitchen, and that's got to be hard for a man like that, because you can't mess with his style of writing. It doesn't work, and there was that stress on set. So for a while there, I just wasn't having my little ego, my actor ego, stroked and being told you're doing a very good job, which I need to hear. So a lot of the time I was like, I'm not sure if I'm doing a terrible job. Maybe, oh my God, are they going to fire me? Like, am I doing the right thing? And it was harder too, because the transition from Battlestar was immediate. They released me from Battlestar shooting the very last season to do the Dollhouse pilot, and then I went straight into it. So I went from this environment of working 6 years with all these directors and these actors, and we were this big, happy family, and there was a whole lot of ego stroking going on all the time. You do a scene, and the director was like, that's amazing. That was so good. And I'd be like, thank you, Michael. I'm like, do you mind if I go again? I just want to try something. He'd be like, let's do it, let's play. And that was it, you know what I mean? So I left that, and then went into, we'd finish the scene, Joss would be like, moving on. And I'm like,
Do you like me?
yeah, do you like me? Was I good?
Can you just rewind one and say that word? Say Joss's favorite word, please. The way only you say it.
Which one?
It starts with an E. It's supposed to have an X, but you just take a Z.
So
It's exactly the way you said it.
So I tend to say, at least I used to, and because of Eliza and Joss busting my balls about it,
There was
I'd say
a sign on the
exactly.
walls in the writer's room that said, do not write the word exactly for Tahmoh.
Yeah, because I'll drop the X.
That's true. You do
Like,
do that.
exactly.
Exactly.
Shut up. Leave me alone. Moving on. Did that answer your
Cute
question?
Tahmohism.
You can do it.
Exactly. I've been working on it.
Hi, you guys have obviously inspired a lot of passion and a lot of people here, as evidenced by this full ballroom, and we've waited an hour plus to see you. And I'm
Thank
curious, who here are you excited to meet, and what kind of panel would you wait in line for?
So my signing table is right across some people from Fringe. Astrid, the one guy, I don't know, I'm horrible with names, but and then Michael Cervezas, who is also a big Broadway performer, I'm sure as most of you know, he's like crazy talented. So if no one's at my table for a minute, I just kind of look back and awkwardly stare. And then I think about getting the nerve to go over, and I don't. And then yesterday I was saying hi to this guy because he just got here, and then I was walking around, and the guy that plays Monroe on Grimm, which I'm like secretly obsessed with, by the way. It's horrible and awesome at the same exact time, and I can't get enough. I went in line for that panel if they were all there for sure. So I went and I introduced myself, and he's like, hey. It's just not worth it. I just panic. I panic a lot. So I don't know. I kind of creep. I creep on people. That's what I do.
Let's be honest, there's a whole level of creepiness that goes on at Dragon Con. Hey, it's okay. We're all allowed to creep. Everyone's creeping here. It's all about the people watching and creeping. I mean, as actors, we do it. I tend to do it too. Yeah.
You've creeped by my table at least 5
I
times.
creeped by the table a couple times. I can't help it. You know what? I'm going to admit that I haven't had an opportunity to sort of walk the what's it called? The Walk of Fame?
Walk of Fame.
Yeah, to see everyone who's there, but I noticed some of the True Blood people beside me, and I would love to meet them. And yeah, I'm going to make a point of it after this. I'll get back to you.
So I fangirled down on Herschel this morning. Walking Dead. We love that show, man. And I had a moment. He's here. He walked by yesterday to say hi to Ed Asner. He's sitting next to me. That's pretty cool. And I was lost. I hallucinated and I forgot my name and I just was like, and then he went by and then today he came and I had like slept 8 hours and I was like, I can do this, you can do this, girl. And so I was like, Herschel, we love you. He looked a little frightened. And then I was like, oh yeah, we started talking and then he was like, I'm a fan of yours too. And it was really sweet. So I like that. Walking Dead.
I love when you guys turn out to be one of us.
Please, it's no mystery.
I met Martin McDonough once, and I was terrified. The exact same thing. I went up. I was like, "Hey, I love you." So, and he was literally just looking at me like, "Who is this clown?" And I walked away with my head down.
Can I tell? Oh, poor Tahmoh.
Well, I guess it was the first, yeah, people would call me Faith, a lot, yell it out in the streets, and I guess I just did that. I was like, Herschel! Not his name.
You can't
I should
control
probably know
yourself.
better.
Can I tell a quick, really, I'll be fast about it, story about me freaking out probably the most ever at somebody? Do you guys know who the monkeys are?
Yes.
So I grew up watching the reruns as a kid, but not knowing that they were reruns. I didn't, and then I swear to God I was gonna marry Davy Jones. Like, hands down, like, forget it. That little guy was mine. And then we met him at an autograph signing, whatever. And my parents bought us his autobiography. And I could read, I was like 7 or 8 or something, but I didn't care because there were pictures in the book, and so I just got right to them. And he looked a little older, which was weird, and because now it's the 80s. And I saw a picture of his wife and his daughter and like some pets because I think he owned a farm. And I realized that he was married with children. And I kicked my sister out of our room and I slammed the door and I said, "You guys leave me alone." And I sobbed and I said to myself out loud, a 7-year-old miracle, "He didn't wait for me." He didn't. But I got Chris May, so I totally win.
You're just the most priceless human being.
Hello, this is for Tahmoh. And my question is, where were you when Paul was in the coma? Because I watched Dollhouse first before I watched Battlestar. So I knew you as Paul before Halo. So were you filming, I might have my timing off, were you filming Battlestar when Paul was in the coma?
No, it's just the pilot that Battlestar released me for. We were almost done Battlestar. We were on the last couple episodes, and they released me to shoot the original pilot of Dollhouse. So where was I when I was in a coma?
Yes.
Well, there was a couple scenes there. I took a nice little nap.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like I'm behind, like I didn't get into Battlestar before, until after Dollhouse.
What did you say?
I didn't find Battlestar until after Dollhouse.
I remember you telling me that. This woman's a training machine. Can you show everyone your guns, please, real quick? No, seriously, she got
Gun show.
amazing guns.
Gun show.
Just go!
She's mortified. I thought you meant actual guns, and then I got it.
Those aren't allowed.
That's not a good idea.
question about your inspiration to.
Deep breath, deep breath.
Yes, I cried in front of you yesterday. I don't remember.
Oh,
remember that.
Taylor?
Yes. I just love your show.
You're doing it. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody be quiet.
Obviously, Rossum is like the tangible enemy throughout the show, but what sort of internal demons did you imagine your characters battled with in order to keep pursuing the betterment of mankind?
Wait, ask
We're working on that one. I'll get back to you
I
in a
feel like
couple
I
minutes.
missed. I hate to make you do this again, Taylor. I feel like I missed the first part. Will you just the question?
Oh, just what sort of internal demons did you imagine your character battling with throughout the show?
Oh, all of us, right? Because there was a lot going on, huh? Eliza, go.
Eliza, would you like to take this one?
Deep, man. I'm in it. I'm like, I mean, there were a lot of demons. There were a lot of demons, I think, especially as Echo started to really feel Caroline and you know, have that distinction. I think, I mean, that was the biggest premise of the show, was we're making a show about human trafficking and trying to see if there is any
Right,
to that. And I think that's why we ended up on Friday nights at 9. When Fox realized that that's what the show was about, they were like, we can't put you on after 24 on Tuesdays. But it was, I mean, I wish Joss was here, and he could probably give an amazing articulate
Well,
answer, but
especially
it would be-
because, you know, when you started unraveling so much, you had you were all about demons. You had so many characters in your head. I mean, that must have been insane.
I feel like Tahmoh's character had that issue the most because he was just conscious of it happening. Like, as the dolls, we, you know, quote unquote volunteered or were brought in for various reasons. I mean, you know, it's...
No. Paul was a happy character. He was he was happy with life. Life was good. He always had a smile on his face. I'm not sure if I smiled. There's a couple times I smiled in the 26 episodes, maybe twice, 2 or 3 times.
You smiled when I brought you manicotti.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I think Paul definitely had some demons. You know, interesting, you made me think of, I think if the show had gone in the original direction that Joss had sort of planned with the original pilot, there was going to be some mention of me having been recently divorced. And, you know, that was kind of a choice I made, because that was one of the few things that Joss gave me in the beginning, too. I mean, it was really Ballard's sort of obsession with the Dollhouse and Caroline, and her character was, you know, it was borderline. It was obsessive. It was almost weird at times, and it would have been interesting to see that explored a little bit more. Again, there's so much that could have been done with this show, and the writers were brilliant, and they didn't have the time to wrap things up, and it would have been interesting to see it go in different directions. You know, I would have liked to have worked with some of the other cast a little bit more. Like, I loved when I finally got to work with Harry. We had some incredible actors on the show, obviously. Like, yeah, we were cut short. But I'm grateful that we did it, you know?
For me, and I talked about this briefly yesterday, but I feel like, you know, when I got to be Madeline for a little bit in the second season, and then we hinted at it in the first season, like why my character volunteered to be a doll in the first place, and then when I got to play her for a little bit, it was difficult because I'd been Melly for so long, and I think we were all attached to her, and she wasn't quite. Madeline wasn't quite happy, obviously, in her life, and I think that's why the last line that I say before I shoot myself in the head is that it's still Melly fighting through, and she says, "You made me feel like a real person," and I think that was such an interesting choice because, you know, all we want as people is to feel loved and respected, and like people get us, and I feel like even Madeline was most happy as Melly, if that makes any sense. That's my existential thought for the day. But I think you know, he loved playing with that kind of stuff. Joss was just brilliant that way, and
Yeah, he did.
he made everybody complicated. He's really, really good at it because humans are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Paul had this true love with, you know, for Melly, and that how difficult that was for him to, like, when he realized that you were a doll, and having that conversation when you were Madeline. I mean, you could see it. He had to let go of something in himself that he wasn't going to get back. And then, when we did the jumps with the epitaphs too, it was really interesting. I mean, that one scene that we have, it's 10 years later. I mean, my character's still madly in love with this woman. He's still chasing her, but she's never quite let him in, But he's not giving up. But she's giving him so much, she's reciprocating so much, enough that he's there, and they're still, trying to save humanity or what have you. But there was that one great scene they wrote where we have the speech, and I'm just like, you just won't let me in. Yeah. It was a really good scene. I like that scene. That kind of summed up our
Tahmoh's
relationship.
like going there. You're like in it. Like, it's okay, buddy. It's okay.
Eliza, can we do that scene again? I've been meaning to tell you, I've actually got the lines right here. So let's do this for everyone. I'd like to do that scene again because I wasn't happy with the tape.
Let go. It's okay
that
to
they
let
used.
go.
The Dollhouse is real.
Somebody make me a shirt, please. Somebody remind Joss. You talk to Joss. He doesn't talk to me anymore. Tell Joss that I would like. I want my wall house shirt that he promised me. Let's do it. Let's do it. Next Dragon Con, I want to see it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'd say large.
Hello, I love your show, obviously. I think maybe other people do. I just wanted to ask, sorry. I know you're actors and it's your parts, but as actors and seeing the people that you have to portray, it's mainly just lines, but once you have to bring some kind of feeling to it, did you happen to get just the lines and then try to use whatever you've experienced to kind of bring a little bit more depth to these characters? Because I noticed, and I know it's not real, but Paul, what you did to November really upset me. But, and I know it's not real.
Well, Paul, what did Paul do to me?
Because he might cut you loose and
when he
throw
was
you out. At any rate, I know it's not real, obviously. I'm just saying that by that, I don't think any other characters that were actually doing that scene would have made it as good as it did. What I'm saying is that as y'all as actors, what do you bring into it to make it a little bit more real?
Well, no, I think it's a good question. I think, there are a lot of schools of practice that do different things. Every actor brings, there's Stella Adler, there's all different kinds of processes. Every actor has their process. And my mom's a professor. She's gonna cut me if she hears me messing that up. No, for me, I feel like it's a combination. I mean, there's the old it's called acting, and you just try to. Who was it? Anthony Hopkins, when they asked him how did you become that Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs? I mean, did you? How method did you get, or how did you be so crazy? And he was like, I thought about what a crazy person would act like, and I did that. Or he said it cooler, I don't know. But, and then for me, I just try to, I go through a lot of subtext. I look at things that are in my own life. I work with a coach that oftentimes, when we sit down to work on a scene, she'll ask me okay, what's going on right now with your mom? What's going on? And she'll kind of help me rifle through what is most charged in me that I can sort of apply and try to get that scene, to have that real emotion and those sparks and that kind of connection. And so with an ongoing show and with these guys, I feel like then we get to know each other, and it's a beautiful organic process, but certainly one that you work at and you're constantly infusing and trying to just get in there all dirty every day.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's why we do it. We love to play, right? Acting is awesome, man. It's a dance, It's a dance, and it's a give and take, and that's the beauty of it. Oftentimes, you might make some strong choices or envision a scene a certain way, and then you go in and do it with an actor, and they give you something totally different. You got to go with it, And that's the beauty of it, and that's life, you know what I mean? It's listening, it's reacting. Like Eliza said, probably the most common acting technique that people use is substitution. You just take something from your life, you know? If you've had loss, which we've all had, and you can connect to it, and you, for whatever reason you're not in the scene, then you do it. I find oftentimes with really good writing, it's, you know, it's there for you. You'll connect without even having to make a substitution or a choice, because it's there. It's really about what's the scene about? What's happening right now? Is it about loss? Is it a goodbye? Is it a hello? Is it a first, or it's a last? Something like that, you know. But like most actors, I think, you know, it's not, I don't know if it's, you know, back in the 70s, there's like Meisner technique and true method studio style, you know, like method actors. I think most actors these days it's an amalgamation of everything. You use many different techniques and whatever works for you. And sometimes things aren't working for you and you're like, shit, I can try something else. You know what I mean? You scramble a little bit. But
they call it the actor's toolbox. You've kind of like collected everything that you've learned over the years, and you know, if you went to school for it or just whatever, you know, you know what works and what doesn't after just trial and error. You know, and like Tahmoh said, if it's good writing, you just be in character and go on their journey, and it kind of just happens. You know, if you're lucky to be in that situation. And you know, Melly cried a lot. And when you're shooting something, it's not just like one take and you move on. You could spend hours doing a scene over and over again. And I remember the episode where everybody was high for some reason. And I was just sobbing in the chair in my pajamas, and I had the weird wires in my head. And they just wanted me like screaming and crying. And I actually got nervous thinking I wouldn't be able to just cry all day, you know. And I created a Melly mix on my iPod. And it was all like sappy heartbreak songs that really, because music speaks to me so much, and I get affected immediately. It either makes me really happy or kind of geared up or depressed or whatever. So I just put a bunch of songs that put me in the right headspace of just the agony that she was in so often over this guy. And I would be in the corner, you know, before a take, and I would just have my iPod in and just let myself, you know, kind of float away so I could just get there easily and quicker so we could get the stuff done. But
music really helps. It's
really,
one of those
really
ones
helps.
you forget about it sometimes, and that's one of those techniques where you're like, oh shit, and then you listen to a song that really affects you, that, you know, and it'll bring you back, man. Like Ever James Olmos, who's one of my mentors, an amazing actor. Right? Been in the business, you know, forever, 50 years. But Eddie always says, you know, he's like, find the character's music, man. Just find its music. Find his music. That's all you need to do. You find the character's music.
Such a complex show, and I can't think of another show where 80% of the cast is probably playing at least one or two or more characters, sometimes dozens. And I was wondering.
A doll so bad. I wanted to be a doll.
You got your wish.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
I was wondering if you had a favorite imprint. It doesn't have to be your own, like it could be someone else's, but if any of you guys had a favorite imprint.
I loved and Vera dancing in that club.
He was amazing. I was crying on set. Tim Minear was telling me to shut up. He got mad at me. He's like, Tahmoh, seriously, shh. I was sobbing and crying. He was brilliant. God, he was so good. Oh, it was hard to do that scene with him, man. It was hard to come out and be mad and like go save him from those, guys he was fighting. I was crying. That's how hard I was laughing.
And Vera's Topher was bananas.
Yeah. That kid,
He's
Vera's
so
talented.
Yeah.
He really is, man. He
He's
is
the best.
true talent,
Yeah.
that guy. Oof.
You mean personally, or that's just like either?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But what was your favorite?
I that was one of my favorite, watching in Vera's.
I
Topher.
loved you
thought
as
was
Kiki.
bananas.
That was awesome.
Oh,
You as Kiki was
Kiki.
great.
She
Yeah,
was
it was
cute.
bubbly and hilarious. What was the episode where you're the blind girl in the cult?
Oh yeah.
Who knows?
True Believer.
True Believer.
I know.
That was great work. That was
We,
yeah.
I
That was
really love you reminded me. I loved that episode.
Yeah, you did amazing work on that. I really like that episode.
Obama was elected when we were shooting that episode. Love him or hate him, we were like out in that weird community, out in that commune, and I remember we were like all dressed up, sort of like Amish-like, and we were like sitting around this old TV box, like watching Obama get elected, and it was like 2007 or something.
Yeah. If I had a choice and I could imprint anything, it'd probably like be musical skills, like mad musical skills, like Mozart skills. I'm fascinated by musicians and writing music. It just blows my mind that somebody could do that, because I can't.
I'd take languages. I would just get them all. Just
that's awesome.
travel
That's
around
good.
and talk to everybody.
That's good. That is good.
Mine was silly. When I got asked that question on Friday, I said I want to be imprinted as Derek Jeter. Just to feel how amazing it was. Derek Jeter! I'm sorry, I know we're in Atlanta, I apologize. Because he's just an amazing athlete and a nice guy and kind of attractive and on top of the world, and I don't know, I think it'd be fun. And just like make a clutch play, because I'm not an athlete at all. I'm a super huge klutz. Like, I was put on the basketball team in junior high, and I warmed the bench. I think they only put me on because I was tall. Yeah. I'm not sad about it.
Just walked out crying.
Hello guys, big fan. After filming and then viewing Dollhouse, were you guys still shocked and sad and mad to see how it turned? And what were your most jaw-dropping moments?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
What were your most jaw-dropping moments of Dollhouse?
Working on it or like watching it as a...
Watching it after you filmed it, kind of knowing where it went, but were you still shocked to see like it on TV?
I remember seeing Epitaph 1 at Comic-Con, I think, and I was backstage and I was crying. And it was a little embarrassing because I'm like, should I be crying in my own show? But I was like sobbing, and then I think Joss was there. I was like, I love you, man. I was hugging him. And it is surreal because you're there and you kind of feel like you get the scene, and then when you see it and the music's that's laid in and everyone, and they've picked the finest, performances from each person. It always. I watched an episode of my own show on a cross-country plane recently over someone's shoulder, and I was kind of like, damn, this show was good, man. What happened? So you have those surreal times when you're doing it, and then you appreciate seeing everybody's work and accumulation in those magic hours.
I remember Eliza and I were actually with some of the writers and actors watching, was it Epitaph 2? We were with, and then, is that the one that you get shot in? Was that Epitaph?
Yeah.
Okay. So I either forgot that happened, I don't know what the hell was going on, but I was like completely shocked. And I lost it. We were in a room full of people, so it was super embarrassing. But it was just, when I really lost it was the scene when Eliza breaks down. And I think it was like, for her, the realization of everything that happened, what a huge loss that was. And it was just so special to watch that scene and be there with her. And I remember we like grabbed hands and she goes, we loved him, didn't we? I was like, yeah, we did. It's depressing as hell. But she was so amazing in that scene, and it broke my heart, and I thought it was stellar, and it was like the perfect, ending for that relationship. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a girl.
Right?
I hugged her fist. I was like, hey, I'm gonna cry.
When Harry's character was revealed, jaw dropper. When I read that, I was like, what? Oh my God, that's so awesome. It was brilliant. I had no idea. Didn't even occur to me. I had no idea. When I found that out, I thought that was so awesome. And Harry was pretty stoked too. But he's such a cool cat. He tried not to make it, but he's like, acted like it was no big deal, but I could see his little twinkle in his eye. He was happy. He was like, yes, finally. Because Harry, again, great actor, veteran, amazing actor. But you know, he could have been used more, and that would have happened if the show went on longer. But you know, he wasn't. I think for Harry, he wasn't used as much as he would have liked. So there was some validation there. You know, that happening in the end, and him turning out to be that character was pretty cool. I think for him.
Yeah. And can we just give a shout out to Olivia Williams?
She is such an amazing actress.
Goddess! Oh my god.
That bitch was mad.
Loved working with her, man.
I loved it. And that was also one of my favorite episodes was Haunted, when I played Margaret and we were sort of peers, and I was terrified because I was like, it was really intimidating
Yeah,
to sort of
she is
like be
intimidating.
in the zone with her on that level, and she's no joke.
She has a
The
very
thing about it-
regal presence about her. Like,
She
it's
does.
royalty. It's like, oh, hi, I'm sorry, excuse me. You know, like...
Well, it's that British thing, but the thing is, she's actually really approachable and affable.
Yeah.
Like she's,
Oh, yeah.
she's just
And sassy, and she's like really fun and funny, actually, yeah.
and bright and amazing and beautiful.
She would like come in every day and be like, I just did my Bikram yoga. I'm like,
Oh,
how
God,
do you?
I know.
She was on it.
Yeah. At 4 a.m. she did it for an hour. I was there once.
This is actually going
I
to
don't
be
know
our
where this is
last
going.
question.
Next question.
Our last question.
Yes, we are at time.
What? Aw.
Sorry, friends.
We're gonna do pictures though.
Oh yeah, listen everybody. Okay, so we have to go right down back to the Marriott to Froggy's if you're doing group photos with us.
But
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
Froggy's
be-
photos. I've got a flight like right after, so
Yeah.
I'm running out of Dragon Con.
But I'm gonna be
right
15
after
minutes
Froggy's.
late because I have to run to my room.
All right. What?
I have to. It's a must.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Question. Don't make that the last question. But yeah, come see us. We'd love to take a cool shot.
Last question.
So, Joss sort of has, there's this formula to all of his stuff that I think is sort of what his fans like. There's, you know, the characters that always seem to have lots and lots of endlessly witty things to say all the time. And, you know, there are these sort of unbelievable situations with, you know, demons and vampires and spaceships. But Dollhouse really pushed the boundaries in almost every way. It wasn't comic and funny all of the time, and it was actually an incredibly believable premise. So, you know, Dollhouse to me at least stands out completely from all of his other shows. When you were filming this, all of you, but especially Eliza, having worked on Buffy and Angel, were you sort of aware of the fact that while you were working with Joss, you were sort of creating something that he had never created before?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and I mean, it's been obviously an honor to work with that guy 3 times. Most people would hope to have the chance only once, and I thought it was really brave of him, and I thought it was really, you know, courageous, and it was. I feel bad in a sense, badly that he didn't sort of get the love from the creative freedom to do it the way he would have wanted to do it. But I think in the end, we definitely had our little sit down, and we were like, we did some stuff that we're really proud of, and that was what was most important. And to me and to him, and hopefully to you guys. And so, you know, it is what it is, and we were pretty stoked.
You guys, I think we're all pretty much done, but I'm going to run out of here now so that I'm not late for the photos. You guys are amazing. This is such an incredible turnout. Thank you so much for all the love. All the love you guys gave this weekend. So many kind things were said. Really appreciate it. Very touching.
Take care.